Welcome back to Callahan's Corner. We do ask the questions, answer them live right here on Facebook. Got a user submitted question in the Copilot users group by Josh. Mike Andrews gave me a quick tag in the post to see if I could come in and shed some light on some estimating. So what we're going to do is going in and talking about the three ways of estimating and how to actually break this out in a production rate based estimating system on a process that we like to call guesstimating. So without any further delay, I'm going to open up the screen and open this up here. But right out of the users group, Josh says we're trying to set up a pricing matrix using time on property. Anybody else have experience with this? So Mike, Andy, thanks for the tag here. But Josh, this is really pretty easy stuff. It took us several years to figure it out. So I said in perspective, easy stuff. But now that we have a methodology to set this up, I'm happy to share this in the mindset of abundance. So first thing I want to look at is if you didn't join our live webinar yesterday, this is something we went over. So I want to put some context to this for Josh. But as we're looking at a business scaling to 1 million, setting up the foundations here, there's 6 main areas that we want to focus on, really the first 5. And step number 2 is what we're looking at here for Josh's question. So the first one is we want to be able to go in and work on the business, not in it, as Michael Gerber would say. Technically 4 hours a week, that's only 10% of your time. Ideally, you want to drive that up to 8 hours a week based on working on the business strategically. That's that strategic time. Second part is we want to get your finances in order. Within that finances in order becomes the ability to go in and have your bank account reconciled for your business, separate your personal finances. Business finances get a market-based wage. And within that market-based wage, we're going to hopefully drive into each division of the company and create an hourly rate per division. So we're charging $65 an hour for maintenance, $125 an hour for fertilization and weed control potentially. And we're also going to in there have a break even per division, what it costs you per hour to break even. So the charge per hour versus the break even is your bottom line net profit. Also along in getting your finances in order as we teach this to our scale group with one-on-one coaching knee to knee with company owners that are still running 7-figure businesses in the United States and Canada, we go in and talk about the 3 ways of estimating. And that's exactly what Josh has brought up here and I want to talk about. So when we get our finances in order, there's 3 ways of estimating that we look at. The first is market-based pricing. This is a no-no, but traditionally when we first start out, this is how we all start out. So if we're going up to this example for a time-based estimate in Josh's example here, let's say we're going in and doing a fall cleanup. So we're going up to the fall cleanup, we're looking at it, we're thinking what someone in my market would charge is maybe $275. I think that's what the market's going to bear. So that's what I'm going to charge. But the problem with that is it doesn't take into account your hourly charge, what you need to charge, and it really doesn't take into account what your break even is or projected profit. You're basing your numbers on what you think everyone else is charging. And truth be told, with working hundreds of businesses each year, these businesses that you're comparing yourself to on a market-based pricing do not know their numbers. They're guessing and they're throwing against the wall. So it's really important to evolve into your estimating process. And I think this is where Josh is at. So as we're looking at this, Josh, the second was something that I call guesstimating. So we're going up to that fall cleanup or the spring cleanup and looking at it and saying, based on my experience, my equipment, and the current site conditions, I think it's going to take X amount of hours for one person to do it, and you multiply that times your hourly rate. But this is the first step. Now, there's going to be full transparency. There's just going to be some jobs that you literally cannot put a production rate on. You have to rely on the estimators or the business owner's experience. So what we've done is developed a way to be able to put in the number of minutes or hours into the software, and it non-emotionally, I'm going to highlight non-emotionally, calculates a price, a budgeted time, and calculates the hours in the right format that you're going to need to actually go out and do that estimate. And then eventually we drive into a production rate based estimating. But as I said earlier, with your guesstimating, a spring cleanup, a fall cleanup, there may be, if we've got a production rate based on small, medium, and large shrubs, if we got shrubs on a 40-foot retaining wall, obviously an industry production rate is not going to fit there. We may be able to use that for the production to actually trim the shrubs, but all the other anomalies with that site condition, we're going to have to add those in as general conditions. So guesstimating is going in and basing it on your experience. And I'm going to show you how you set this up, Josh, in Copilot. But I wanted to put some context of when we go out, what are the main 6 steps of business we like to look at? This is step number 2, get your finances ordered, and includes an estimating process that's delegatable that reflects your finances. We're going to be looking at guesstimating, production rate based estimating. Particularly today, we're going to be looking at your guesstimating system. So what we're going to do is go into the SimpleGrowth blueprint. Josh, what we're doing is hopefully you've worked with an industry consultant or someone to figure out what you need to be charging per man hour and it would cost you. So we're going to use the example of a landscape maintenance example for his guesstimating or time-based estimating. We're going to say Josh is driving at $65 an hour. He sat down with somebody like SimpleGrowth or an industry consultant like Jason Cupp or Jim Houston. And if he's figured out his expense per man hour, let's say it is $42.63. So the difference between this 45 and the 65 and the 42.63 is your net profit if everything goes to plan, not gross profit, net profit. So what we're going to do is go in and fill out our fall cleanup. And we're going to create a custom field. This is our job variable. So this would be in our example, Josh, based on time, it would be fall cleanup man hours. Now I'm going to talk about minutes here in a minute as well, how that would play in a time-based system, but I'm going to go in and build this out. Looks like apparently here with some emojis and typos, but fall cleanup man hours is our custom field. So the first question, Josh, is there a minimum to do the job? And I'm going to suggest there should be a minimum. If let's just say we're charging $65 an hour and we're doing 5 8-hour days, so equals 8 times or 5. Let's take the 8 times $65 an hour, and we have a 2-man crew. So our bare minimum is this is our minimum revenue that we need per day. All right, and if that's the case, that same 8 hours times 2 guys equals 8 times 2 guys times our break even. This is our expense per day. And our profit, if everything goes to plan, which it usually never does, 100%, we should make our profit here. This is why Mike Andes has produced that P for P plan that he uses with a lot of the Augusta folks, because you can fix your labor costs. We did something exactly like P for P back in the day. We called it piece rate. Same idea though. But the idea here, Josh, is before we go in and set a minimum price, if your minimum revenue per day is $10.40, if a 2-man crew, what is the maximum amount of fall cleanups you can do in a day with a 2-man crew? I'm going to suggest on a residential end, it's probably 4, maybe 5, but let's say it's 4. So really what you need to do is take a look at max number of jobs a day. And if that's 4, then really what you need to be looking at is equals this divided by the max jobs. You need to be charging at least a minimum of $260 if these were your numbers per cleanup to show up. So what we're going to do then is go into the rate here and set a minimum of $260. And now with a time-based system, we're going to go and take equals the $260 and divide it by your hourly rate, which is 4 hours. So for everything between 1 and 4 hours is our base price of $260. So if it's only an hour, we're still going to charge $260. If it's 2 hours, it's still $260. 3 hours, $260. 4 hours, $260. But if it's 5, we're charging more. So from 1 hour to 4 hours, budgeted time is $260. Every 1 hour over the first 4 hours is an additional hour and $65, and it's costing you $42.63. So Josh, this is how we're setting up a time-based estimating based on your experience on the job. Once again, we figured out a minimum amount that you should charge based on the revenue goals of being able to do a max of 4 cleanups a day with a 2-man crew. And an 8-hour day, the minimum revenue per day per crew has to be $1,040, and it's costing you $682.08 with a profit projected of $357. So really the mindset is we're looking at time-based estimating or even production rate-based estimating with a base cost is we need to go in and figure out what is our minimum, what is our maximum amount of jobs we can do. And we're selling blocks of time, quarters a day, half a day, thirds of a day. And that's going to help us preserve our profit margin. So it's not only important to get the system set up correctly, but also to set up the minimums. Now, Josh, what I'm going to do here is an added bonus before I go into Copilot. To set this up, but I'm going to do this based on weeding of beds. So we got a service here that we're going to weed the beds. Maybe if you're in the deep south, Florida, different markets, maybe we're adding that on as part of the maintenance package with the mowing crew. We have a bed crew. Let's say we're already here doing this and there is no minimum, or there could be a minimum. But the weeding of the beds is going to be, instead of man hours, it's weeding of beds, man minutes. So we're looking this at minutes because if we do it by the hour, we may price ourselves out of the market. So this minutes is going to give us the granularity to actually be pricing right down to the minute from the estimator. So let's say in this example, there is no base price. So for every 1 minute equals 1 divided by 60, that's going to give us what it is, should be 0.02. That is our part of an hour. 0.02 hours equals 1 minute. So each minute, this times our 65 an hour in Josh's scenario is $1.08. Once again, we've got our 0.02, and we're going to go in and drive the bottom line equation so they match up. So for each minute, Josh needs to be charging $1.08. That's a minute, and it's costing 71 cents at 65 bucks an hour. So what we're going to do is go in and build this out inside Copilot CRM. So what we're going to do, first thing we want to do is go in under resources, custom fields, and we're going to create a custom field applies to a property. We're going to go back to our blueprint, fall cleanup man hours. We're going to go in and paste that into the field name. I'm going to use a naming convention here of MT or maybe MANT. That's our maintenance division. A little bit easier to track those. Field type is going to be an integer, and we want to make that transferable. We're going to save that field. Going to be the same exact process that we would do with the minutes. So I'm going to go in and just show you how this lays out. So what we're going to do then is go into items and services. We're going to go to items and services here, create a new service with the matrices, and we're going to go back to our fall cleanup. And here's our name, default rate. I'm just going to put $1. Here's our description, estimate, and rate matrices. So quantity, rate times visits. We're going to go in and grab our maintenance cleanup hours. And I'm going back to our blueprint. So from 1 to 4 hours, which is our base price, is $260. Go in here. So 1 to 4 hours is $260. 4 hours right here. And then based to Josh's break even of $42.63, it's costing him $170.52. Now we're going to go back to the SimpleGrowth blueprint. We're going to blueprint it and then put it in the software. The reason why we're doing this is we're confirming our profit percentage, our mathematical assumptions. And if our prices change next year, let's say Josh's goes up to $44 an hour break even. This 170 now becomes 176. So this is a sheet that we can continue to scale our businesses to 8, 10 million beyond, and delegate this process to other people on our team. So every 1 hour over 4 hours is 65 bucks. 65, and it is 1 hour, and the cost based on Josh's numbers here, fictitiously obviously, is $42.63. So that's going to go in there, and that is how we're building out a time-based matrices of guesstimating inside Copilot CRM. Mike Andes, thanks for the shout out. Josh, love the question. Keep them coming. Any other questions on setting up your business, matrices, automations, drop in the comments below. Callahan's Corner, we're going to answer your questions live on Facebook 5 days a week. Until next time, Callahan's Corner, you ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook.